Welcome to the Matt Loves Cameras YouTube and podcast. I have a very special guest with me today, Theo Panagopoulos, and we're going to explore a new segment here on Matt Loves Cameras called Desert Island Cameras. First, I'll introduce Theo, though. Theo is a very talented photographer from Sydney. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see in the background there, he is the owner of very beautiful cameras you can see in the cases behind him. He's a podcaster with the smash hit film photography podcast, Camerosity. He has an excellent camera review blog, photothinking.com, and he's an all-round good guy. Theo, how are you tonight?
I'm not too bad. I'm not sure about the all-round good guy, but I'll take that.
Excellent. So no quarrel with all the rest of it, but no, you're definitely a good guy. And how are things down in Sydney tonight? You can probably see here on the video here. I'm still sweating, got the aircon on, but it's still very warm up here in Brisbane. What's it like down there in Sydney?
It's cooled down a little bit, actually. We're down to about the 30 mark during the day, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
And so it's been an interesting few days. The dew point has been very high,
Yes,
so
same up here. Yeah.
yeah, so that's been the problem. So you walk outside, and
Mm.
your camera lens is just fogged up in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. That's right. So yeah, the aircon has been running here at Matt Loves Cameras HQ, I think for about a month. So I'm kind of dreading the next electricity bill. But anyway, it's wonderful to talk to you tonight. And we are trialing on Matt Loves Cameras. We are trialing a brand new segment, and the new segment is called Desert Island Cameras. Now, of course, this is a rip-off of the very long-running BBC radio show Desert Island Discs. And the idea behind Desert Island Cameras is simple. You're going to a desert island. You can bring 10 items to the island. Now, the first 8 have to either be cameras or lenses or films. Okay. So you can bring any combination of cameras and films. The only sort of rule there is if you're bringing, say, a Polaroid SX70 camera, you have to bring Polaroid SX70 film. If you're bringing a Mamiya 7, you have to bring 120 film. So there you go. You've got 8 items there for cameras, films, lenses, as long as you can use them all with camera and film going together in those slots. That's the first 8 items. And then the 9th item is a photography related book. And the 10th item is a luxury photography item not covered by any of the categories above. So hopefully that is clear as mud. How did you go with this, Theo? Was it a bit of a brain teaser, or was it relatively easy to work out what to do?
I did all right. I may be bending the rules on the 10th item, but we'll get
Okay.
to that.
Okay. Oh, well, yes, I'll wait with bated breath for you to reveal your items one by one. Okay. So you're going to the desert island. What is your first item? And it doesn't have to be in, order of preference, but, what's your first item there?
Okay. It's a deserted island. I'm assuming there's beaches and palm trees and
Yeah.
coconuts and all that kind of thing. So, see, you need something to jump into the water with. So, my first item is my Nikonos 4-A, which is the automated one. It's got a
Hmm.
35mm lens on, which also shoots above ground and is very much like the 35mm lens that's covered, I believe, on the L35
Oh, yes.
AF.
Yeah. Yeah. So where
So
is this in the lineage of Nikonos cameras? So is
it
this like in the middle run or something like that, or a later one?
towards the end, the 5 was the last one. They
Okay.
did make an SLR version, so which is probably the final one. So in that case, it probably brings it back into the middle
Yeah.
to some extent, but it was the 4th one. It's It obviously looks very different to the Calypso versions, which was the 1, 2, and 3. Because if you know the history of the Nikonos, it was originally a Jacques Cousteau
Yes.
camera,
Yes.
which they called the Calypso, and then Nikon decided to purchase that and put their own branding on it. Now, the beauty of the 4A, because I normally pick the 2, is it is partly automated.
Yep.
And if I'm on a deserted island, then I'm probably going to try and catch fish, and I don't fish very well. So I think I want something that's going to not take my attention too much.
Yes. Excellent. And how many rolls have you put through that one?
This one, I've only put one. I haven't actually got it back yet, but only recently I've only
Oh, so
put
this is a
one. I
new
haven't.
purchase?
No, it's just it took a while.
It's been languishing in the cupboard.
It's been languishing for a while.
Yeah. Oh, excellent.
But But yeah, that's I'm not much of a water person, so
Yeah,
that's kind of why it's taken a while. So
yeah. And will there be a review on
of
photothinking.com about
course,
excellent. Look forward to that as well.
yeah,
Excellent. So by the rules of this competition, then I'm assuming that later on in your first eight items, we're going to have a 35 millimeter film. Is that correct?
we are. But first of
Okay.
all, we'll probably should talk about the lens though, which is the second item.
Yes. So now with when you bring a camera, just a little rule, a sort of clarification here. You can bring a camera with a lens. However, if you did say want to bring another lens for the same camera, that takes up an extra slot, if that makes any sense to people. So what is your second item, Theo?
It is the 20 millimeter lens that goes on that camera.
Ah, wow. So that is
So
pretty much super wide angle, right?
it is, and it means that while you're under the water, it is fantastic. Now, this will not work above water.
Really? What was
No,
that?
it's specifically designed for the dispersion of light
Ah,
that's coming into the water.
yeah.
So, but
Wow.
yeah, they're pretty amazing beasts, these cameras, because
Hmm.
if you look at, have you ever actually used one before,
No, I
Matt?
haven't. No, a few
The-
times it's been on my eBay list. I've been watching it, but I saw all the stuff about having to clean the O rings and all that, all these
yeah.
seals, and I was like, oh man, I don't know. So I never got one, but tell me about it.
Well, the interesting part is the seals are actually it's got a really interesting mount that you put in, and it just sort of forces in.
Yeah,
And when you want to pull it out, you just break it. But somehow it stays
yeah,
really, really dry.
excellent.
So as long as you keep the O-rings well preserved.
Yep. And if through a test roll, did you use that special lens you've got there as well?
Yes, I have tried
Excellent.
that out.
I
So
look forward to
that
seeing those photos.
yeah.
Brilliant. So that's great. So what is your third item?
Well, if I'm going to have a 35 millimeter camera, I have to bring some 35 millimeter film.
Yes.
And I thought, well, okay, I've picked a camera that makes it easier for me, so let's make it a bit harder. And I picked my all-time favorite film that's still available, well, sort of available, Provia 100F Fuji.
Excellent. So nice slide film there.
Yeah.
How much
So
slide film do you shoot in comparison to other, black and white or color neg?
not as much as I used to. It's just the price is just becoming too prohibitive these
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
It's almost up to about $50 a roll here
it
now,
is. It is,
which
yeah.
is a little bit too much.
Back in the 90s, I used to when I bought my first, serious cameras, they were just entry level Canon cameras, but I was learning photography and I bought a stack of Kodak Ektachrome. I know it was Elite, sorry, Kodak Elite Chrome, which was very much the entry level kind of slide film. But yeah, one thing I used to love was, you would go buy your Elite Chrome and you'd get the developing and the mounting all, of the slide film, and you couldn't wait to get the little tray back. Do you do your own E6 or do you send it out and do you still get them mounted or
I send it out. I don't get it mounted. I mount it myself. I've got one of the little mounted
oh excellent.
devices which sort of slices and you
Yep.
pull it out and it pulls the two pieces together,
Yep.
and it's pretty good. Getting the mounts themselves is actually getting a little bit harder and harder these
Yeah.
days, but it's interesting thing getting slide film done. You mentioned Elite Chrome, by the way. I used to use that a lot too, and now that it's expired, if you find it, it's fantastic to be cross
Oh
processed.
really? I
Yes,
think I've got one roll in the fridge.
yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Stephen Dowling gave me that idea.
Oh
You
yeah,
cross
yeah.
process it in LCA, and it's superb.
Yeah.
So I'll have to give that a try if I ever come across it again.
Well, I've
But
actually got a roll of. I've actually been using my. Oh, you can't see because it's blurred. But I've actually been using my LCA this week. I've got a roll of Walken's Speed 400 in there, which is an AGFA film, color film. You got some of that as well, didn't you?
I did. I haven't tried it yet. That's
Traffic surveillance.
traffic surveillance one,
Yes.
isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a video on that. It did pretty well actually. The video. A lot of people I tried not to make it clickbaity, but I think a lot of people thought that it was a brand new film. So obviously that's going to get a lot of attention. But I was very clear and upfront that this is a vintage AGFA film. I really like the results. So I've got my second role in the Lomo LCA at the moment. But yeah, I'll have to dig out that roll of Elite Chrome and give that a crack as well. So
Yeah.
now you talk about not being able to find the mounts and stuff for slides. I actually found a stack of them I can't remember where it was now, it's somewhere in Japan. in one, I think it was either a Bic camera, maybe it was Sapporo, but they had a whole stack of the kits for mounting slides. They had no slide film at the time, but they had all the little kits to mount your own
Yeah,
slides.
look, I mean, it's not impossible. It's just harder to find here in Australia without paying
Yeah.
prohibitively high delivery charges. The thing is, I like it's called CS2 mount type,
Oh yeah.
which is the one that comes in a V shape. It's basically the two parts are connected.
Yep.
And I keep forgetting I'm on video these days. This one. And you pull it through the machine. It's inserts it, you slice, and then when you pull the slide out, it literally pushes the two pieces together.
Oh, nice. That's
So,
pretty cool. Excellent. Brilliant. So we're up to that is that's 3 items.
okay.
What is your fourth item you're bringing along?
Okay, well, I'm thinking, oh, I'll catch lots of fish, and I'll be on my hammock, and I'm thinking, oh, I feel like doing some photography, and I want to do some really good photography, and this will not come to it being a surprise to anybody that actually listens to me on Camerosity, but the Mamiya 7, yeah,
Yes, I knew that would get a
as,
Guernsey.
as I got the the lens cap, but
Yep.
that's a camera I would not go anywhere without. So it just had to come.
Yep.
Uh, this is got the 80mm lens on it, which
Yep.
is sort of a kit lens for it, but as much as you can call that a kit lens.
So what's that,
And
like a 45 or 50 kind of equivalent full
yeah,
frame?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that. Yep.
So it's the nifty middle of the range type
Yeah.
focal length. And this, I mean, it's 6x7. I do tend to crop 6x7, but it does actually have the 8x10 type ratio
Mm.
on what it actually exposes. And the lenses on this are so good that you really can't tell if it's digital half the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is that good. And it just means I can do anything with it. And I can shoot it down to a 30th of a second being a rangefinder
Yeah.
and just get perfectly sharp photos. I did that last year. I went to it's a good time of year actually. It's the Mardi Gras in
Yes.
Sydney at the moment.
Yeah.
And I I went into one of the street parties on Crown Street in Surrey Hills
Yeah.
and started photographing people and started drawing attention. Actually, a couple of
Yeah.
people sort of said to me, "Oh, my partner says that's a really special camera," and
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of is. And people were lining up for portraits, and it's
Amazing.
just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. It's been on my list for a long time, that camera. And I think some, I've watched a lot of cameras over the years, but I think, like I've watched X-Pans and I've watched Mamiya sevens. And but I think that is the out of all those kind of, white whale cameras for me, I think Mamiya seven's probably the one that I would want the most out of all of them. It just
Yeah,
seems to be very versatile and a great sort of travel camera.
and if you were tossing up between that and the X-Pan, um, stay tuned.
Yep. I know what's coming next because is it something to do with the panoramic kit?
Possibly.
Okay, excellent. So that's we're up to number 4 there. So we've got so far we have the Nikonos, we have the extra lens for the Nikonos, we have Provia 100F film, a slide film. We have the Mamiya 7 with the 80mm lens. So that's 4 items, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
Excellent. So what's your fifth?
My fifth one is this is going to be a little bit boring, but it's the 65mm
Oh,
lens
nice.
that comes
Yeah.
with the Mamiya 7 because I
Yep.
do like the combination of a 50-ish lens and a
Yeah.
35-ish lens.
Yeah.
And that's where this comes in. And again, that's if the 80 is sharp, this is even possibly a little bit sharper.
Nice.
And it actually has no distortion at
Yeah.
all. Yeah, I mean practically no distortion at all. And I just love this. It's
Yeah.
it's just fantastic. So that would come as well,
Yep.
nice and light.
Excellent. I was about to ask you a question on what film you usually shoot with the Mamiya 7, but under the rules of Desert Island Cameras, you're going to have to bring a 120 film. So I'll keep that question to myself because it's probably going to reveal itself shortly. Am I right?
It is. But we can probably jump onto that before the next item if you like.
Sure. So
It
what do you usually shoot with Mamiya 7?
what I usually shoot, and compared to what I would want to bring, is because I'm assuming cost is no factor in this item. I'm about to be stranded on an island.
Yes,
Uh,
you're stranded on an island. You can bring any cameras, films you want. What one important rule actually is probably you knew this rule, but the viewers and listeners wouldn't. You have to own the cameras or have owned them in the past.
Yep.
So, for example, if I was doing this exercise, I couldn't choose an X-Pan because I've never owned one. Actually, I haven't used an X-Pan once. But anyway, but that's the general rule. So you have
Yep.
to own all this stuff yourself. So yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yep. So it would be Provia 100F in 120 format.
Excellent. So is that an actual choice here for Desert Island?
That's
Or?
my actual choice.
Yep.
What I do use generally is Portra 400,
Yep.
160. I like to use Gold 200 occasionally as well.
Yep.
Um, when I get my hands on it, and I've got a nice big stock of it, the Pro 400 from Fuji as well is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm dwindled down to my last roll of Reala, which was my
Oh
favorite
yeah.
film on
Yeah.
there. So that was great. But again, slide film. I love using slide film.
Yep.
Provia 100F is one of my mainstays. I would bring that along.
Excellent. Brilliant. Now just one question with the 120 film there. So with Pro H400, Pro 400H, do you overexpose that? If so, by how many stops?
Uh, Not really, actually.
Just box speed?
I might, yeah, I might shoot it at 320 just to a
Yeah, yeah.
little bit to overexpose it, but not much.
Yeah.
It in a good camera with a good meter, it
Yeah.
really was designed to be shot at that speed.
Yeah. Excellent.
So,
Brilliant. I've got a few rolls of that in the fridge as well. So, and my last question is about 120 film. What about, like a faster film, say like, do they do, I think they do Lomo 800 in 120?
I'm not sure they do Portrait
The
800.
Portrait 100. Yeah. What about
Yep.
Portrait 100 have you
Yeah,
shot?
no, I've shot that in the
Yeah.
past. It is really, really nice. The thing with 120 is you start to lose that grain effect too. So you get the fast film and
Yeah.
it's so smooth. I mean, even HP5 push to 1600,
Yeah.
it just comes out silky smooth. It's beautiful.
Yeah, nice. It's making me want to. I've got a Pentax 645 up there, which I shot quite a bit of Portrait 800 on. You're making me want to get that out again because I haven't used it in so long.
You should. You
I
should.
should. I definitely should. I definitely should. So I think we're up to item number 6. Is that correct?
Yep. And
Excellent.
so that would be, and as predicted, it's actually the 43mm lens
Ooh.
for the Mamiya
Yep.
7, but I would bring the 35mm Pano kit all in one package. So
Okay.
I'm bending the rules a little bit here again already.
So how many
But
items have we got there in that slot? We've got
one.
okay. One, but they're not quite all together.
Well, it is. Look, I mean, generally people use
Yeah.
the Pano kit with the 43mm lens because
Yeah.
if you look at it from a X-Pan point of view, I'm trying to get the lens cap off here, it's very much the same sort of focal length
Yep.
as the 45 that's on the X-Pan.
Yep.
The trick with the Mamiya 7 is you really need the viewfinder.
External
So
viewfinder. Yeah.
so you can that's why I'm saying that's one package there.
Yep.
And then you generally use it with a Pano kit. So you get the same dimensions as what you would on the next pan.
Mm.
The one benefit of doing it on the Mamiya is because it's a 6x7 camera, you do not need the center rounded filter
Filter. Yeah. Yeah.
because it's designed to fill the whole frame.
Yeah.
And if you decide to not use the masking, you can shoot through on the actual sprocket holes,
Excellent. And
and fantastic results.
so you've done that?
Yes, very much so. Have a look at photothinking.com.
Yeah.
I've got a few examples on the Mamiya 7 article.
And have you now you're saying that the Pano kit is mostly used with the 43mm lens, I think you said.
Yeah.
Have you ever used it with any other lenses to see what
I've
happens?
used it with the 65.
Yeah.
And it's still because initially I didn't have the 43. It's
right.
a very expensive lens. So
Yeah.
and I shouldn't really wave it around like that, but yeah.
Just don't drop it. Yeah.
It's people think the Contax T2 is expensive. Start getting
Mm,
the Mamiya 7 kit, and then you
yeah,
start to see expensive.
that's right.
So it's so I used it with the 65 for a while, and it does work. It works fantastically. The
Yeah,
65 is superb because it's so well corrected. You don't have any sort of bends and so on,
yeah,
but it is you do need to leave a bit more space to
sure,
to,
sure.
to get in the frame.
Yeah, lovely. So what are we up to? We're up to number 7 or number 8 now? I've lost track.
Yeah, I think seven.
Yep.
Seven. I'm not bringing this along, but I wanted to show you this one. This
Yeah.
little item. It's a nice little item. But I just thought this might be interesting for people. Is Have you ever seen a filter kit for a rangefinder like a Mamiya 7?
No.
Now, this is a circular polarizer. Now, if you think about a circular polarizer, and I'll show it in a minute, is you turn it around to get the polarization that you need.
Yep.
With a rangefinder, how do you do that? You're not actually looking through it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, unless you get one of these, which has this little feature, which I will try and do without dropping it, which brings it up for you.
Wow.
So think about this. This is attached to the lens that at the bottom here.
No
You
way.
bring it up to the
Yeah,
top,
yeah.
so you're looking through this filter,
Yeah.
so you can see what kind of polarization you want.
No way. And then you
Turn it
just
around, and then slice
oh,
it
that's
back down.
awesome. That's very
Hmm.
cool. Yeah. How much do they go for on eBay these days? They looks like a pretty specialist bit of kit.
That's like a $300 or $400 filter,
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah,
so it's
nice.
not cheap.
Yeah.
It's but I really wanted one, so I got one,
And
and I
what
think I've used it twice. So
oh, it's all
I
right.
do.
It's I like having all the bits and bobs of the kits myself. So like I've got the Contax T3 filters and I've never used them, but for some reason I just wanted them,
You just want
like
them. It's
yeah,
yeah.
it's right. It's gas, isn't it? And with your putting together your Mamiya 7 kit, was it you started off with a body and a lens and added to it, or did you buy a whole
Yes,
mini
I
kit?
did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
I got lucky. I found the Mamiya 7, which my wife then bought for my birthday slash Christmas
Wow.
present
Good
one year.
wife. Yep.
Uh, with it was old new stock.
Wow.
So I think someone online said to me, I must have got the last one ever that was
Wow.
technically new.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was the 7, not the 7 II. So
Yes. Yeah.
which uh I don't know what went wrong with the styling of Mamiya though. They're beautiful cameras, but the 7, the color is that platinum type color,
Yeah, yeah.
goldy platinum color. Yeah.
Yeah.
The which some of them look a bit tatty these days. The 2, they went black with the big Mamiya down the side, and it's like, oh God, really, guys?
Yeah.
Have something simple and elegant.
Yeah, that's right. What is the main difference between the regular version and the second mark version?
The second one has the neck strap lugs on both sides,
Yeah.
and on the one side, because if you have a look at the one I've got here,
Ah,
it's on
yes.
on the side there.
Yep.
So with the 2, it's got one on the other side as well, so you could actually
Nice.
wear it normally.
Yep.
Personally, I throw it over the shoulder. I've gotten used to it. I didn't like it to start with, but I got used to it.
Is that the only difference though? Or?
No, the viewfinder has, I think it's got some sort of polarization added to
Oh,
it or
okay.
something like that. So it's slightly different. It's got a slightly better viewfinder. I personally couldn't see how it could get any better, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's about it.
Nice. Excellent. So we're left with number 8. This is your last camera slash lens slash film choice. What have you got for us?
So I'm still on the island, and I still want to take snapshots without thinking about them, and shoot around, and still sometimes I might want to go for a dive, a bit of a
Yeah.
swim while I'm doing that as well. So and I need a compact. So how could you not
Oh,
take
excellent.
one of
Very
those?
nice. Very nice.
I know
I
you
do.
like that one.
I do like that one. Yeah. I think who was it, old mate? Who's that? Who's Granny Days? Granny Days just did a review of the red one, which is not as waterproof as the one we've got. So I imagine the prices of these are gonna shoot up. I tried to sell one for 150 bucks about a year ago, couldn't get rid of it. I imagine now that would go fly off the shelf.
I imagine so. And for I'm not sure if people are actually listening or watching, but it's the Canon Sure Shot A1, which is the waterproof compact,
Yes, also known as the Sure Shot Prima, no, the Prima AS1 in Europe.
and the Auto Boy something
Yeah, Auto Boy something
in
in Japan. It's weird though
yeah.
because they gave it the name the Sure Shot A1 in North America, but there was already another A1 Canon A1,
Yeah,
wasn't
there
there? So
was, yeah.
it's weird. I don't know how they do their naming conventions, Canon, but yeah, it's a great camera. And the ones, Legend sort of has it that the version that you and I have has down the side where the grip is, it's like a gray color. And the on the dial there is a picture for macro mode of a fish. Yours has got a fish.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
it does.
So that's the same as mine. And the later version, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, lovely. And the later version had the grip was red on the front and it didn't have a fish on the front, it had a flower on the front, which was basically a tacit kind of admission of this is not as waterproof as we thought it was.
Mm.
So apparently there was some, production issues with the camera, and that's why they changed it to a flower. So yeah, it's interesting. So if you can pick up one of those, people try and pick up the one with the gray on the front. But hey, like I mean, I've taken 98% of my shots with that camera above land,
Yeah.
so it's a really cool camera.
I took it one year when we went to Port Macquarie for
Oh yeah.
a holiday, and it was we took our dog for a holiday there too because they've got beaches for dogs as
Oh
well, and
nice.
there so we took there, and it was his first introduction to the sea.
Yeah.
So, but I had the camera with me, and we were just like, yeah, it was fantastic. We just sort
Yeah.
of jumped in the water, and I didn't have to worry about it. It just sort of hung
Yeah.
off my wrist, and took pictures. Half the pictures came back with a big water bubble
Yeah.
right on where the face is supposed to be, or something like
Yeah.
that. Because yeah, you have to remember to shake it a bit first.
Yeah. I shot my last role that kind of neck of the woods as well. I did a work trip down to Newcastle. First time I've ever been to Newcastle in Australia, and yeah, it was a work trip. But I got up early every morning at 5:30 or whatever it was, and went out for a walk along the beaches there. And I took my that Canon Prima AS1 with me. I think I was shooting Lomo 800 from memory. But I think that's the last time I've used that one. That was just before COVID hit, so that must have been yeah, geez, that was almost 4 years ago. I'm neglecting some of these cameras, but it is a really, really fun camera. So yeah, I think I'll do a video for my YouTube for that one coming up. Then again, Granny Days old mate's already done it, so it's probably gonna steal the YouTube views for that one. So there are your eight cameras, lenses, and films. So that then moves us on to the ninth
Yeah.
slot.
So I've
And
kept a nice little package there, a bit of landscape, a bit of
yes.
water, a bit of so I put some thought on how to package it without overburdening myself. And
Well, you've got some nice, you didn't go for say seven cameras and one film. You got packages of things that go together there with the Nikonos and the Mamiya 7. So, and you've also got a bit of a theme running throughout there because you've got your waterproof, your water cameras as well. So I quite like that. But we're now moving on to slot number 9, and that is for the photography related book.
yes, and for that I picked one of my most favorite photographers,
Hmm.
and it's Walker Evans,
Oh, I've
American
seen this. Yeah.
photographs.
Yeah.
Um, I love documentary photography. That is kind of the genre I've sort of fallen into. I mean, I used to do a little bit of news stuff, amongst sports and wildlife and so on.
Yep.
But this this is this is probably the epitome of documentary photography because he basically just traveled, across the
Mm.
US, and he was paid to do it, and just took pictures, of everyday things. So that's probably a bit of a landscape one, but you can see it's just like normal everyday pictures,
Yep.
and they're just absolute classics, and they they just give you a story.
Mm.
So they might not be you know the 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 best in terms of composition or anything like that. But there's a series that run through them. There's a story, and the composition's not, I don't want to make it sound like it's bad. It's actually very,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
But if you think about what he sort of went and saw, it was a time in America where things were changing.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I don't think we've got an equivalent in Australia of
Mm.
a Walker Evans. I wish we did,
Yep.
because it's all very fragmented when you start looking at the historical photographs around Australia. Otherwise, I'd be right into getting that as well.
Yeah. It's interesting when you look at, say, work like that, or gosh, what's her name? What's the photographer whose negatives were all found? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've forgotten her
Vivian
name.
Maya.
Vivian Meyer. How could I think I need some more, even though it's late at night, I think I need some more coffee. So Vivian Meyer, and also Herzog, the Canadian photographer who used Leica cameras, but he also used that Canon Sure Shot A1, the
Mm.
camera, to try and put people off the scent that he was taking, serious photos. But when you look back at their work, say from those times, the 60s, 70s, or before that, do you think there is a certain nostalgia does play a part? Whereas, if we went and took similar photos today, because we see those kind of scenes every day, we're kind of used to them and they're not that interesting. Do you think there's a bit of a nostalgia there when you look back at photos that are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old? And it's almost, you are looking at a window in the past, aren't you? These people have captured something that doesn't exist anymore. So although the photos are well exposed and there's great composition, there's an added kind of layer to that it's kind of, you're looking at something that doesn't exist anymore, and it's quite wondrous. How do you?
I think there is, but it's also the fact that these people were quite unique in that they actually saw. I mean, I was just looking at this one
Mm,
composition here. I mean, I personally probably would never think of taking a picture of like that,
yeah,
except now that I would, because I've seen his work.
yeah,
But the interesting part with it is that there's so many people emulating that now. So we get desensitized to it,
yeah,
and we don't actually, yeah, it's not as unique. Back then, there was no one for them to sort of look at
mm,
and go, oh, I'll look at Instagram to get inspiration. I'll do the same thing
that's
to get
right.
popular.
Yeah,
They actually worked out those compositions themselves. And because there wasn't like hundreds of thousands of people taking the same picture, they've become a historical record. So
yeah,
the fact that they've actually taken those pictures so uniquely and they've become a historical record just means that they knew what they were doing, that
mm,
they were masters at what they at their craft, basically.
yeah. That's another interesting thing, is that they would have, traveled across America, or, other photographers in other parts of the world. And, they may not have seen these photos for months or years. And certainly in the case of Vivian Maya, not ever. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that the dedication of these people, and yeah, just the fact that a lot of people would not have seen these photos for quite a while.
To me,
So
that would be the ultimate. I mean, I get all the work that goes behind trying to bring out the photos.
yeah,
Yeah, that's not the fun bit. Taking the photos is to me the fun bit.
yeah,
So
yes.
I would love to just sort of take all the photos and someone to discover them.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah,
Uh,
I already outsourced, all of my development and scanning. So if
yeah.
someone could take along all that, I was actually looking earlier this evening. I was looking through my Lightroom catalog. I think there's like 200,000 photos in there, and I was thinking about my trip to Japan this 2023, and I was like, I still need to basically put aside a day or two of my life to go through and mark out which ones I like. And I took video footage, and it's quite, yeah, I need a full-time assistant doing that. Unfortunately, I can't afford one, but
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. So, but yeah, sometimes you get lucky. I had some photos I took probably in the early 2000s when
yep.
the first Middle East wars started
Wow.
to pop out.
Yeah.
And there was they had the marches here in Sydney, and they were, yeah. And I was doing a little bit of news work back then too, but they were protesting against, getting involved in the war,
Yeah.
and I photographed that on film. So this was like 2004, 2005, 2002, around that period.
Yeah.
Now digital had started coming in, and I got contacted by the War Memorial in Canberra, who said to me, uh, we kind of don't have much of that period of what was happening in Sydney because people were converting to digital and it's
Yeah.
all lost.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, would you be interested in letting us have access to your slot, to your film? And I said, look, I'll donate it as long as anything that's used is captioned with my name.
Yeah.
I'll donate it. It's historical. So now this film is being professionally scanned.
Wow.
It's stored in a bunker at 6 degrees with no humidity for the next 200 years.
Wow.
And that's how they explained it to me, by the way. So it's there
Yeah.
for 200 years. And they recently contacted me, and they they're starting they're getting an exhibition together of the period.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we'd like to use your picture." And this isn't confirmed yet, so they might still move away from that. But your picture on the entrance wall,
Wow.
and
That's
with
amazing.
possibly a something behind the protesters. So it's a composition. Do you mind if we do that? And I'm like, you put my picture on the wall.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's brilliant.
I'll you can do anything you like with it. Just
Yeah. Excellent. So there might be a trip down to Canberra, I'm guessing, to see that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for
definitely.
sure. That's amazing. It's really something to be very proud of. And so you had to send them how many like sheets of negatives did you have to send them for that?
It ended up being about, I think, or 6 or 8 sheets of
Oh yeah,
negatives. So
yeah,
and I just signed them away, the copyright to them. I've got
yeah,
my scans of them too, so
yeah,
I've kept that, and they and yeah, and they're stored a lot better than I ever could store them anyway.
yeah. You weren't tempted to send your whole collection down and get them to scan them all and go, "Oh, sorry, you weren't supposed to scan all those for me. My mistake." That probably would have worked
No,
it out pretty good.
that would have been nice, but yeah, a whole whole 5 drawer filing cabinet full of
Yeah,
film wouldn't have
yeah.
cut
No,
it.
excellent. So that is the ninth slot, and we're now up to the. I think we've got a preview of this already. I think, but the 10th slot is the luxury photography item, not covered by anything so far.
Okay, so I kind of broke the rules a bit because you kind of said not film, but this is a film. But I'd like a large box of Kodak Aerochrome to take with me.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, that is a luxury
That is
item
a
these days.
luxury item. That is definitely a luxury item. And so, have you shot much before?
No, no, but because it was the 10th slot, I understood that that wasn't part of the rule. It wasn't one of the
Well,
eight.
we can bend the rule. The rules aren't. It's more in the spirit of having fun and discussion. So yeah, we can bend the rules a little bit. That's fine. So have you
Yeah.
ever shot any aircraft at all?
No, I've shot some of the Lomo stuff, which sort of emulates it
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little bit, but
yeah,
no, I would love to get my hands and shoot it. It's a luxury item that
yeah.
yeah, it's a film that I would really like to, but every time I see it online, it's like $300 for a
$400.
roll,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
roll, and I just can't do that.
I've got a couple in the fridge. I shot I got a couple in the fridge and I got them from Dean Benici, I think his name is, gentleman who's in Europe. Actually, one of them is a 127 roll. One of them is actually got three. I got one of each of the formats 35 mil, 120, 127. The reason I got the 127 is because he basically, that's all he had left. I said, I've got some of this. You could put in a 127 camera. I'll spool it for 127. He said, great, I'll have that as well. So I got three rolls from him. And then on eBay, I got a couple of rolls of I'll probably get the name wrong here, but the Kodak HIE, is it infrared?
Oh
So it's
yes,
color
yes, yeah.
infrared film, but I think it says HIE on it or something like that. And unknown storage conditions. I gave it a crack, and the lab scanned it, Devton scanned it for me. It's very, very heavily fogged, like so heavily fogged. You can kind of see it and tell they're aerochrome kind of colors with what I've shot the subjects, like the beach or the trees, but it looks pretty bad. The whole thing's like, I don't know, purpley gray smudge
Mm.
of stuff. So I've been meaning to shoot one of my refrigerator rolls from Dean. So maybe I should do that before the summer's out.
Yeah,
So
I do have some 3200 infrared film in the
oh yeah,
fridge.
yeah.
I
Is
can't
that black
remember
and
the
white or
brand. I believe so, yeah.
yeah,
Um, and I'm looking I'm looking at trying that one day, but I'm not expecting much from it.
yeah,
The person selling it didn't know what they were selling, so I don't know how it's been stored or
yeah,
anything like that.
yeah,
But I do have shot some infrared, and one of my favorite pictures that's hanging in my house is actually on infrared film.
awesome.
Yeah, I went to the Centennial Parklands here and took a picture of a lake with all the leaves sort of across the whole lake.
Yeah,
And, I suppose it's a pond actually rather than a lake, but, and it's come out fantastically because
mm,
you've got that infrared effect, not just for the trees of the little island in the middle of the pond and the black
yeah,
water, you've got all these leaves right across the whole thing.
yeah. Nice. Yeah, I've got I think I've got a couple of rolls of black and white as well, but it was from the same lot as the one that didn't turn out. So I kind of got discouraged there, but I think I need to bite the bullet and shoot a couple more rolls. And if there's nothing, if the film wasn't viable, so be it. But I shouldn't just leave it in the fridge. So excellent. Now, would you just like to give the listeners
Oh,
and
but
viewers?
Matt, before we
Yeah,
go on with that, I
yeah.
snuck something on.
Oh, yes, yes. Please tell me.
Well, I kind of figured I could either take a phone, which would probably help me get off the island,
Yep,
or something I can show pictures of what happened on the island very quickly to someone without having to
sure.
develop something. So I did pick up a digicam to take with
Ah,
me, and I
your
picked up.
bonus.
This is the
Ooh,
LX3,
yep,
the Panasonic Lumix.
yep.
The reason why I picked this one is have a look at the screen format.
Oh, that
It's
is that Xpan
No, it's not expand, but it's a 16 by 16:9,
69? Sorry, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, type format, and that's
So it's
its native
native.
port.
That's
Yeah,
native. Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking. Remember you talking about this one? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's pretty cool. So
So
that's a CCD sensor, is it?
it
Or
is, it
yep,
is. I think it's a 7 or 8 megapixel.
yeah,
But these days with the denoise thing in Lightroom,
yeah,
and it shoots raw.
yeah.
Yeah, the quality is fantastic. Even without that, it's fantastic.
So tell me
So
again, Theo, what's that one called? I'm going to make a note of it here in my little show notes here. Lumix
Lumix LX3.
LX3. Okay, I want to look that one up. Okay, and see if I can watch a few. Yeah, I have been on the lookout for some other cool digicams. So and I remember you talking about this one in a group chat we're in a little while ago. So yeah, it sounds like a. Do you use that one very often or?
I do when I can. I
Mm.
must admit I've been using the Canon S95 more so
Oh yeah,
recently.
yeah,
I've got an upcoming review on that one, so I've been
nice.
using that one.
Yeah,
But this is probably one of my favorites. I've got the equivalent Leica version of it,
yeah,
but the CCD has gone bad on it, unfortunately.
yeah.
But for some reason, Leica was able to bring up some different colors on it. It's just
Hmm.
amazing how they do that. So
Yeah.
it's all in software.
How does the digicam sort of fit into the film and the digital, and what percentage of each do you reckon roughly you shoot?
I'm probably 80/20,
Yep,
80 film, 20 digital.
yep,
But I do enjoy it. I get invited. A friend of mine invited me to the whitewater rafting event that's happening, I think, next weekend.
oh yeah,
I did that last year as well, and you get to see some of the Olympians, involved in that as well. And that
nice,
I'll just do that on digital. I did take a film camera last year, but I won't this year. I'll just get the
yeah,
the Nikon DSLR out and big lens and do that because it's just, yeah, it you use the right tool for the right purpose.
yep,
Now, for
sure.
me, the digicams are fantastic to take around all the time. Where you don't want to think about, okay, should I take this shot or not? Just take the bloody shot
Yeah,
and just keep shooting. Um, I tend to shoot that way anyway. So,
yeah. So that's great, Theo. Can you just recap your 10 items, your 10 desert island camera list for us, 1 to 10?
okay, so it was the Nikonos 4A with the 35 millimeter lens, the Nikonos 20 millimeter underwater lens to go onto that, Fuji Provia 100F 35 millimeter format. I then picked the Mamiya 7 with the 80 millimeter lens. The then the Mamiya 7 65 millimeter lens, and then the Mamiya 7 43 millimeter lens with the viewfinder and the 35 millimeter Pano kit.
Yep.
Paired that all up with Provia 100F again in 120 format, so I can
Mhm.
keep that consistency going. And then my eighth item was the Canon Sure Shot A1, which is a nice little point and shoot to take around in and out of water.
Yep.
My book was the Walker Evans American Photographs, and my luxury item was the Kodak Aerochrome, a large box of it, very large
A
box of
large box of excellent, very large, very
it,
expensive box of.
refrigerated.
Would you swap your Mamiya 7 for a box of aerochrome?
No,
Yeah.
I would not.
There are certain lines in the sand of
There
a desert
is.
island that you wouldn't cross. That's fair enough. Now let's talk about Camerosity. So Camerosity, how long has been Camerosity been going for now? 2 years or so, is it?
We're
Or
in
longer?
our third season, halfway
Excellent.
through our third season,
Yeah.
so it's been quite a while now, 2.5 to 3 years, I think it is. Yeah.
So it's sort of, correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the feeling it kind of evolved out of classic lenses. Is that correct? Sort
Yes
of?
and no. It was. it was an experiment that Mike Ekman and Johnny Sisson thought they would try out,
Yep.
see if people would be interested in calling in and just talking about
Yeah.
camera stuff. And so they basically set up, without wanting to set up the whole infrastructure around it, they set up an episode of the classic lenses to sort of be that.
Yep.
And it was called Cocaine and Waffles, that first episode.
Yes. Yeah.
And I got a call from Mike at one point saying, would you like to be on? And, I had like a half an hour notice or something. And
Wow.
I thought, you're all right, give that a go.
Yep.
Join there, and it was accepted really well. So Mike set up a second one, which was the another cocaine and waffles off the
Yep.
same feed, and again, very little notice, and we had people dropping in and dropping out. I don't. I think I came in like an hour late on that one or
Mm.
something, and it's all very long ago now. But again, it was quite successful. So Mike sort of reached out to myself and Anthony Rue
Yep.
to make it a bit more permanent. So we started off. Initially was Anthony. I sort of came in to that episode by accident, and then it became a mainstay. And then Paul Rybelt was on one of the episodes. I think it was like number 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then we decided that he'd be a great person to have on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And it became the four of us.
Yep.
And from that point on, we kind of had a set format that we started to work with.
And how many shows are you up to now? You're up to 60 odd, is that right?
Be about 65, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting close to
Excellent.
65, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually joined, I think I joined two shows in a row. It was the point and shoot one and the Olympus one.
Yeah.
But then I think you recently had a roller flex show. Is that right?
We did. It
Yeah.
was an unusual hour because of in the background, I've started a new job. We've had snowstorms in the US,
Yeah.
heat waves over here, public
Yeah.
holidays here. So it was all thrown at us. So we kind of changed it around a little bit.
Yeah. So, although I do own a Rolleiflex, I've got a Rolleiflex T with a Tessar lens. I know very little about them, so I decided I'd sit that one out. But yeah, no, it was the two times I've joined. It was a lot of fun. It's one of those things where there's quite a few people on the line. You sometimes got to say something, and then it is tricky to try and to get a word in. But people are very generous. Asking questions and giving you the time to say a little bit. So it was very enjoyable.
We do a bit of trickery with the editing as well.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we admit it. There's a fair bit of editing that goes into it.
yep.
Mike and I and Anthony rotate across
Mm,
ourselves in terms of how we edit it. But we actually record everybody on a different track. So when people do
nice.
talk over each other,
Yep.
we want to give everybody room to talk. So we do split it out a little bit so people can be heard properly
Yeah.
and a bit.
Is there any plans to get to a certain number of episodes? Our friend Mike Gutterman has his 100th show and his 200th show and his 300th show. Um, Matt Loves Cameras is limping along to around the 80 episodes, I think, and petering out. But is there any kind of we're going to do this number of runs, or
No,
just take it as it comes?
it's until we feel like it's not fun.
Yeah.
We don't want to sit there trying to make it a job.
Yeah.
So as soon as we decide, okay, I'm not really interested anymore, and the four of us sort of like starting to feel the same,
Yeah.
we'll can the thing.
That's fair enough. Now, another question is obviously, a lot of these activities we all have in common, the buying cameras, collecting cameras, shooting film. Um, how do you work in, the creativity, the content creation, behind that? Obviously, I do YouTube and I do the occasional podcast and stuff like that. You've got your blog and you're doing podcasts. How integral is that to your enjoyment of this kind of passion?
It is. It is. It's very important. I mean, I couldn't talk about camera collecting on Camerosity unless I was collecting. But the collecting came first. So that
Yeah.
was so anyone that's watching this video can see behind me that I've got a camera or two that's in my collection. And but with the blog, that was a mechanism for me to get some of my work out there because people were really interested in the cameras when I started. I looked back on the other day and I didn't realize I'd started it in 2016 or 17 around
Yeah.
that period, and and I've only just got to my 100th post.
Wow.
So I don't write as often. I want to write quality content. I've got no wish to try and just get lots and lots of content out there.
Yeah.
So what that means is I get to use a new camera, apart from like the Mamiya 7 on my Leicas, which I like to use more often.
Yep.
I get to use this camera for an extended period of time. I'm writing an article on the Nikon FE at the moment. Now I use that for 18 months almost straight into as my SLR.
Yeah.
So I get to really know the camera, get to produce pieces of work that I'm proud of.
Yep.
And whether I share those or not is a different matter. But it's something I can then write about passionately and actually explain
Yeah.
why I like using it or don't like using it. And then show what it can actually produce. So it's not a, you know, I use the camera on one roll of film and
Yeah.
I got one photo that's nice, but oh, it's a great camera, but that's all I'm ever going to use it for. Well, no,
Yeah.
it's got to be more than that.
Yeah, I find that when if I do a film review, I feel like I need to shoot at least two rolls of film. Like if I, unless it's some kind of special film and I've only got one roll, I feel like I've got to shoot at least two rolls of it. And sometimes I'll shoot two rolls and go, I want to shoot another roll and see how it does if I overexpose it or I shoot it in different
Mm.
conditions or a different camera. And similarly, like I've got cameras I've been meaning to do reviews on, like the Minolta TC1 or the Fujifilm Class S. I've never actually done reviews of them. I've had them for years. It's almost like I feel like I don't know. I feel like, I haven't. I want to run another roll of slide film through the Class S to see what it looks like, or I don't know. I feel like I almost has to be all encompassing. And I'm sometimes I think I overthink it, and probably should. I'm not just doing a one roll review. I probably should do a meet somewhere in the middle, and not be quite so over the top in
But
my testing.
interesting enough, I've got some cameras that I used professionally and for a long time. Like for instance, the Nikon F5.
Oh yeah,
I've never written about that, but I put thousands of rolls through it.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
I need to sort of get to that one. Luckily, with that one, it's not so much that I just didn't want to. It's that I wanted to do the F first, the F2, F3,
yeah. I
F4.
was going to
I'm
say,
up
is
to
it
the
because you
F1
were
now.
sick of using it all that time, or
Yeah, I don't use it as much because it's a big, bulky camera.
yeah,
But some of the work I produced on it was some of my proudest work. So I
yeah,
do want to get it out there.
yeah,
The other one is the Mamiya RB67.
oh yeah, yeah,
I've had that since 2001, maybe
yep,
to something around that period. And I've used that a lot, but I've never sat down and write about it because once I started collecting and writing about it, I started using everything else and I haven't
yeah,
used it enough. So I've started pulling it. It's got film in it now. It's actually right behind me, right
yep,
there. And I will, I'm taking it out and taking pictures of it again. It
mm,
gets used more of as a landscape camera than anything else these days. But I used to do some studio work with it, and it's a beast of camera. But I just never sat down and thought,
yeah,
okay, how do I start writing about this? Because I know too much about it rather than
yeah, yeah,
anything else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a system? You've got lots of beautiful cameras there behind you. And recently I did a video on my channel about how I picked up on my Lomo LCAs, opened up the back, there's a roll of film in there. I'd forgotten because obviously there's no window in the back of the Lomo LCA, so you can't see if there's a roll in there. And I did a review, did a little review of that roll with all these light leaks, and there was some lovely family photos in there I've forgotten about. But do you have any kind of system of where do you put film on a camera? Is there any way in your beautiful cameras there that you can pick one up and go, right, I've got film in this?
Yeah, it's a two-pronged process for me. I do keep a spreadsheet,
Oh wow.
and of not not just what I'm shooting, but the cameras themselves.
Yep.
So it's got like lookup tables where you actually allocate, your film with the
Wow.
right camera and so on. So I always know what's got film in it.
Yep.
But I also use this,
Ah,
which is a notepad,
old fashioned tech.
and
Yep.
yeah, and basically, I just I will list what I'm. It's a bit hard to tell, but I will
Yeah.
list each shoot, so I know exactly which frame was shot on what day,
Yeah.
what film, which camera, and and it helps me sort of keep on track a little bit.
Yeah.
I also have a list of all the film that I've got on my fridge in that spreadsheet too. So as I use it, it's sort of I can
Yeah.
tell what's running out, and
Yeah.
there's no nasty surprises. So
That's right. I do
yeah,
that. I have sort of, when film comes back in stock somewhere, one of the places in Australia, like, Ultramax is back in stock, and I have a bit of a panic attack. Do I need some? Do I need some? And then I check my little spreadsheet and go, not really. I don't
yeah.
really need any. I forgot that I had, 8 rolls, 6 rolls of it, or 8 rolls of it, whatever. But it is good to have that. And if I ever get low, I have my color film, 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600. And if I ever get low on one of them, obviously 1600 can't buy anymore. But I'm like, oh no, I've only got 3 rolls left of 800. I better try and source some Lomo or some Portra or something. But I do like to have a good sort of selection of that. Um, what kind of, I mean, in terms of your fridge and freezer, I mean, how set are you for, if a film Armageddon, if film were to
I'm
disappear?
not too bad. I've got a 500 plus liter film out the back,
Yeah,
which used to be our family fridge, but
yeah,
uh, and I it moved back into what we call a shed, but it's an extension of our granny flat
yeah.
actually, and it sits there, and all it contains is film and beer.
That's
So
two good things to have in there.
yes, and I'm
Yeah,
not much of a drinker, so it's mostly film.
yeah,
So, and I've got tubs of stuff, and I've got like a whole drawer of color, a whole drawer of black and white, a whole
yeah,
drawer of slide, and then the unique films sort of get scattered into the door and so on. And then
yeah.
there's the freezer part, which is the older film, like your very chrome pan, which whenever I see someone selling it, saying it's been cold stored, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take that, thank you. And it
Nice.
dates back anywhere back up into the 50s and 60s.
Mm.
So
Wow.
that's kind of, I'm pretty much set okay. Occasionally I'll look at that and go, oh, we're a bit low on HP5 here. So I
Yeah.
might want to get a bit more black and white film.
Yeah.
But generally it's not like I would sit there going, oh no, I don't have any film to
Yeah.
shoot today. I better pick up a digital camera if I felt like shooting film.
Now, it was just over 1 year ago when I was actually down in Sydney, and we met, a group of us photographers met. It was lovely to meet you and the other guys. And that was on a Saturday morning. And then it was a bit of a washout, unfortunately. We got no photography done. But the next day was beautiful. We headed out to, I think it was at Watson's Bay, we were headed out to, and I shot a roll of ADOX Color Mission out there, which I did a video on my channel. Now, ADOX, Color Mission's a film I really love. Now, first, this is a two-pronged question. Number one, have you shot much ADOX Color Mission? I think, did I sell any to you?
I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
you may have. I can't remember where I sourced it from. Sorry,
No, that's
but
all right. I think I
I
sold some
did.
to, I know I sold some to Alan, and his didn't turn out very well. And I don't know
Mine turned out
why.
quite well.
Oh, good. Excellent.
They had an interesting rendering to them,
Yeah.
which takes a little bit of getting liking to it, but I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. It wasn't, I can't say it was my favorite film,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was nice. It did what it was supposed to do, and
Yeah.
it looked quite good. Yeah, Alan had a lot of trouble with it, and
Yeah.
we'll just blame his photography skills on that or
Yeah,
something.
I hope so. I was feeling like, I hope you didn't think I sent him a dud batch. I mean, that was all part of the same batch. I didn't put it in the oven before I sent it to him. But the other
We're going to
question,
get flamed on this, by the way.
probably.
Yeah,
The other part of that is ADOX have just announced, and actually, when I first, my very first, I think my first two videos on this channel were ADOX Color Mission, and one of the guys from ADOX actually commented and said, "Oh, we're about to do a super low ISO film." And never heard anything about it until this week when I was watching Molly Eclectochrome's video, and she broke the news that ADOX have said in their German language site they're bringing out an ISO 3 color film.
I saw
Um,
that.
yeah, no, it's a super low ISO film. Have you had much experience shooting that? Is it something you'd be interested in, or not so much?
It is. I bought some from the film photography project
Oh
when I
yeah,
was selling all those. I've got some ISO threes and
yeah,
six. Um, I also bought it looks like one of those tubs of film that you get that you put into a bulk loader, but
oh
it's
yeah.
actually a whole bunch of little 35 millimeter canisters all in a
Hmm.
circular, um, in the circular thing. It's an old Agfa Precisa
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
CT.
yeah,
Yep. Um, which also comes in a fairly slow ISO as well
yeah,
version. So I managed to get some of that. So I've shot some of that and cross process it, which is quite nice.
yeah,
But even slower, there's a slide film Ektachrome, which was designed for copy use only,
duplication, yeah, yeah, yeah,
duplication,
mm.
eDupe.
Yep,
And my lab basically said to me, "Oh, look, we've got all these boxes of this bulk load stuff.
yeah,
It's ISO 3, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, do you want to try it out? Here, I'll bulk load you one." And I tried it out, and it turned out pretty good. I mean, it you can tell it's a tungsten
yeah, yeah,
film, but yeah, it was quite fun to shoot at ISO 3.
yeah,
Now what I want to try is cross processing it and see what that happens now. But I've got a whole bulk load of that. So yes, I've been trying the slow film. It's a lot of fun.
yeah,
But yeah, and don't be afraid to just shoot it with handheld.
yeah.
Mike Ekman's sent me some Panatomic X,
Oh
which I
yeah,
put into my Vitessa L and shot that
mm,
handheld, and that turned out really nicely as well.
nice.
And
Yeah, I'd
that's
be interested
ISO
to
20
see.
or something like that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. I think probably the slowest film I've shot recently was a roll of black and white FK. I think it was ISO 50. I've actually just sent it to Alex Lux. Oh, I can never pronounce his. I say Alex Lux because I
Looks
don't Lux. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. So sorry, Alex. But I actually sent it to Alex in Canada, and Alex is processing it for me because it's a very old, I think, very high silver concentrate film. Yeah, Alex is going to process it for me, but I think that's probably the lowest ISO film I've shot in a while.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd be interested in this new
Well, let me
Anox one. Yeah.
yeah, let me spool some Egypt for you as well and send it over.
Ah, it's very generous.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I've got a lot of it. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, I've got my one last question for you. I'm thinking about cameras that I'd shoot a very low ISO film in. So my Class S goes down to a very low ISO, which is unusual for point and shoot, but it does. But another candidate is my Nikon FM3A, which is a camera I don't use very much because the 50 mil, all the ball bearings around the lens or whatever, the
oh
aperture
wow,
thing, they all just like went one day, and so I can't really use the lens. So the only lens I've got for it is I think it's the 105 2.4, I think, for the Nikon. And so that's obviously,
2.5.
that's it. That's it. Yep.
Mm.
And so it's not obviously necessarily a walk around kind of street photography lens, that one. So I have been looking at other lenses. Have you ever used the 45 mil AIS pancake lens in the Nikon range?
I have used it. I don't have it, but I have used it. It is a fantastic
Oh, is
lens,
it? Excellent.
and it's nice and compact,
Yeah.
and it's a classic lens. It's a classic Nikon lens.
Yeah.
People people love it. They swear by it. They some people believe it's the best lens ever produced.
Wow.
I'm not sure about that, but
Trying to get me,
yeah.
trying to make me pull the trigger there. But it's up there.
Look, I mean, it's a good pairing.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but any of the 50s would do too. I mean, it's the FM3A. It's
Yeah.
a beast of a camera. Now that will let you go down to ISO 6, I think it was,
I
or is
will.
it
Okay.
3?
Yep. Yep.
Yes, in which case you just use the compensation
Oh,
to bring you
yes. Yep.
down to 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the FM3A, yeah, I think that I heard, it might have been Bellamy, Japan Camera Hunter one, saying, I think he said that the 45 mil lens was brought out at the same time as the FM3A to sort of pair with it, I
Yeah, that
believe.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
I couldn't swear by it, but
Yep.
I'd say that sounds about right because that would have been a perfect pairing for people to go wild on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I need to do because I want to start using that camera again. And with the 105 lens, it doesn't really really lend itself to chucking in a bag at the moment. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Theo, for being on Matt Loves Cameras podcast and YouTube. You were the guinea pig for the Desert Island Cameras segment. It was so wonderful to have you on, and I really appreciate giving up an hour of your evening. How can people find you I'm sure that many other listeners and viewers already know who you are, but enlighten those who are not familiar with you.
Okay. If you're the authorities and looking for me, I live in Perth. If if you're anybody else, photothinking.com.
Yep.
as one word. It is where I write about my cameras, and I review and I put all my photos on there, and I'm probably going to introduce a new segment soon, which is, cameras I've reviewed before and some new work that's
Ah,
come out of it, because I want to start reusing some of these classic cameras as well. I don't want to be like using them once and they go on the shelf. I like
yeah.
to rotate through them. The other place is have a listen to the Camerosity podcast. We're on every 2 weeks, except for our usual annual break. And the next episode, depending on when this comes out, is going to be the European episode, which
Ooh,
will be in about a week and a half's time.
excellent. And there's also Camerosity Facebook group. Is that right?
There is the Camerosity Facebook group. We've
Yep.
got the Camerosity podcast Instagram group.
Yep.
Um, we've also got a Discord server,
Oh,
the
cool.
Camerosity Discord server. That's actually doing really, really well. I must admit I've been neglecting it because I'm gone into a bit of a social media overload, so I'm just pulled back a bit for a while. But
Yeah.
Mike and the other guys are on there all the time, and we've even got a section to ask the hosts for
Oh,
questions,
amazing.
so you can ask us any questions there too.
Very good. Very good. Direct interaction
Yeah.
there with the host. So
But just don't
brilliant.
bother sending us an email, because that died very
Get
quickly.
lost.
It's
Okay.
all spam now.
Oh no, that's no good. Well, thanks so much, Theo. Really appreciate your time, and thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it a lot. Thanks very much, Matt.
No worries.